I have got an uncomfortable truth that'll make some of you beautiful humans fired up, and that is, it seems that you are meant to be poor. This is literally a system working exactly as designed. If you are not part of the elite class, you are not the upper echelons of wealth, you are supposed to stay broke. You're supposed to work, consume just enough to keep the economy moving, and never accumulate enough wealth to threaten their position. And for context, I have got some serious skin in the game as a previous business owner, and I have rubbed elbows with many C-level executives, so much so that I have left some of that skin behind, as you can see. Actually, it was left behind in an alpine slide in Steamboat Springs. I like to go fast. But my point is that this is not a conspiracy theory. I am talking real world, hard data that proves we have entered an era of corporate feudalism where you're the player and they own the game. But here's the thing, while they want you to believe wealth building is impossible, a small group of people who understand how money actually works are escaping this system every single day. And today, I'm gonna show you exactly how to join them. So let's actually start with the numbers that'll make that blood pressure creep up a little bit. And let me just say that I am for capitalism, I am. But I also feel that that rising tide should be raising a few more boats. But we're not living in capitalism anymore. This is a much darker variant, and these numbers seem like a joke. So CEO pay jumped nearly 10% just in 2024 alone, while worker wages crawled up 3.6%. But that is just the skin of the teeth. Let's take a bite out of this one. Since 1978, CEO compensation has exploded by over 1,000%, while typical worker pay has only increased by 24%. Let me repeat this. Over 1,000% versus 24%. And don't get me started on how they're actually paid, because they take $1 salary and then they're paid with like stock options and things like that they can borrow against, and then capital gains, and that's a whole nother video. But at half of these companies surveyed, it would take the median worker 192 years to earn what their CEO made in 1 year. Now, as an example, Ross Stores, the CEO, no affiliation, made 2,100 times what their median worker earned. That is not a pay gap, my friends. That is a tear in the universe. But here's where it gets truly infuriating, and this shows you it is intentional. So companies spent over $700 billion on stock buybacks in 2024 alone. That is money that they could have been using to pay workers, but instead they use it to artificially pump up stock prices and make executives richer. You want to see how this is actually rigged? So Lowe's spent $43 billion on buybacks over 5 years. And here's the thing, I'm invested in the market, but this is actually enough to give each of their 285,000 employees a $30,000 annual bonus. McDonald's spent $22 billion and enough for a $4,000 raise for every single employee. But here is the obnoxious part. Those wage increases would probably actually drive their stock prices higher than the buybacks ever could, because consumer spending drives 2/3 of our economy. When workers have more money, they spend it, which increases company revenues and profits. Research actually shows that companies that invest in worker wages can see stock price increases of up to 2.5% and even better in the longer term performance. But buybacks, what they do is they benefit the already wealthy stockholders and executives with stock-based compensation. It's a wealth extraction scheme disguised as a financial strategy. They chose immediate executive enrichment over sustainable business growth. And as one comment that I've read out there in the community has said, it's a big club, you're not in it, the table is closed and those seats are taken and nobody is getting up. But here's the truth about feeling chained down. These chains aren't physical anymore. They're financial, and they're designed to keep you running on a hamster wheel until you basically die. And here's the thing, the setup, it's actually brilliant in its cruelty. So first, they actually keep wages stagnant while inflating everything else. You've got housing, education, healthcare for sure. It all costs more while your paycheck stays flat. Then, when you can't afford basic necessities, they offer you credit. So don't worry, we've got predatory loans for you. Or just like you put it on that card and you've only got 50,000 more bonus rewards away from that airline seat that offers more legroom. But here is where it's devastating. 27% of Americans have zero emergency savings, the highest ever recorded, and only 41% could even cover like a $1,000 emergency with savings. 53% are living paycheck to paycheck, and this includes people that are making 6 figures. Now, the average credit card debt is $7,300 per household at an interest rate of 20%. I kind of think it's probably a little bit higher, but we'll go with those numbers for now. But the trap that they have built is that when the demand is 60 hours a week, just to pay the bills, you're not living in a free society, you're enslaved and suffocating. You're too busy surviving to organize, too exhausted to fight back, and too distracted by the struggle to see the bigger picture. But instead of complaining, it is time to learn the rules they don't want you to know, because while they're busy keeping the masses in debt slavery, here is a blueprint for escaping corporate feudalism. So first off, break the debt chains. Every dollar that you pay in credit card interest at 20% plus is a guaranteed loss. Meanwhile, they are actually earning returns on assets that you can't even afford because you're servicing their debt trap. And here is the method that you've got to lay it out. So list every debt by interest rate, attack the highest rates first with everything that you've got. This isn't just math, it is financial warfare against a system designed to keep you broke. Now, the real truth here is that every debt that you eliminate is a chain that you have broken. Every interest payment that you stop is money that can start working for you instead of against you. And step two is multiple income streams. Now, here's the thing, they want you dependent on just one job, one income source, so they can control your survival. That's not the game that we're going to be playing here, though. We need to be selling everything that is cluttering our lives, turn those possessions into capital, monetize those skills that you already have. If you do it at work, you can freelance it. Now, do a good job at work. That is your priority. But when it's time to clock out, give yourself a little bit of time to transition in a routine. Whether you hit the gym, get a good meal, kiss your family, hang out with them for a little bit, and then transition into putting in that work on your other income streams. The survival rule here is generating $500 a month of side income within the next 60 days. And remember, this may be a short-term stretch that might get uncomfortable. Yes, it will, but make it outweigh the discomfort of not doing anything at all. And I understand that this is your personal time. I totally get it, but this is going to set you up for financial freedom longer term. Now, step three, the emergency fund, build $1,000 as fast as humanly possible. The single action stops the debt cycle and gives you breathing room to think strategically instead of just surviving. And why this matters is that every emergency that you can handle with cash instead of debt is a victory against your control system. And here's where we completely turn things up. While they're keeping the masses focused on survival, the wealthy are playing a different game entirely. And the moment that you understand this game, you can start playing it too. And this is the asset class here. So the rich don't work for money, money works for them. They don't keep wealth in savings accounts earning nothing. They buy assets that appreciate faster than the inflation that they're creating. And while they're selling you complex financial products with high fees to extract more wealth from you, smart money goes into simple, low-cost index funds. The S&P 500 has averaged about 10% annually over the last 30 years. This is a great place to start, and you can always build from there. Now, of course, that compound interest, and this is actually railing against the system. So $500 a month starting at 25 becomes $1.3 million by retirement. They are not teaching you this in school, but hey, if you happen to be in a high school that this is a required class to graduate, like some schools are providing, get off your phones and pay attention. There is a tax advantage and of course your 401k match. So whatever your employer is offering you, take it. That's money that you're leaving on the table. Then, of course, prioritizing your Roth IRA contributions that grow tax-free forever. Now, as far as real estate is concerned, house hacking is the ultimate middle finger to their rental economy. So what you can do, if you can find one, buy a duplex, live on one side, rent the other. Your tenant pays your mortgage, or at least part of it, while you build equity. And don't forget to be a good landlord in the process. There is nothing wrong with a starter home or roommates. I started with roommates, then transitioned to a condo with my wife where we started our family. We then bought another, what most would probably consider a starter home. We fixed this one up and then had our second kid there at that time and eventually sold it. And as our third child came into the world, we eventually ended up in the home that we're in now. Each step was iterative, not all at once. And here's the core truth. While their system extracts wealth from workers, it rewards asset owners. Your mission is to become an asset owner, not a wage slave. This isn't just about money, it's about psychological warfare. They need you to believe wealth building is too complicated, it is too risky, it is too impossible for regular people like you. We have got to stop thinking like consumers in this economy that is built on extraction. We have to start thinking like investors building our own empire. Every purchase should pass the test. Does this make me money? Does it save me money? Or does it genuinely bring me joy? Everything else is their manipulation. And while everyone else is financing their lifestyle on credit, you are actually financing your freedom with investments. Every month you delay a purchase to invest, instead, you are literally buying your independence from their system. And we are going to be making this automatic. So we're setting up automatic transfers to investments before you even see your paycheck. Pay yourself first, always. If you never see the money, you will not miss it. And they can't tempt you to spend it on their consumer traps. And the mindset here, as far as the shift, Rich people don't buy liabilities that drain money monthly. They buy assets that pay them monthly. A car payment is a liability. Dividend stocks are assets. A massive mortgage is also a liability. Rental income is an asset, although you really can build wealth without owning any property. But here's my personal take. Your goal isn't to look wealthy in their consumption game. It is to be wealthy in the asset accumulation game. Looking wealthy keeps you broke. Being wealthy buys you time, freedom, and the power to say no. Now let's actually talk about escaping this control system longer term. So once you start building wealth, you need to protect it from their next attempts to extract it. So we're diversifying here. So never put all your wealth where they can capture it in one move. We've got to spread it across multiple asset classes. So there are the stocks and index funds, and 60 to 70%, especially when you're young, and bonds for stability, about 10 to 20% as you get older, and real estate. And here's the thing, direct ownership. If you don't want to own property and be a manager or a landlord, then consider real estate investment trusts. That'll also give you some exposure. Now, international investments, I've personally got 40% invested here, but you may want to be way more conservative. Now, small inflation hedges like gold, which I actually started buying when it was about $400 an ounce. There is crypto, and this is actually one that I'm invested in the least right now, about 5 to 10%. Now, as far as protecting yourself during inflation, the thing is, they're going to keep printing money, which means inflation will keep destroying your purchasing power. Assets protect you from their monetary manipulation, and cash will make you a victim. And when it comes to the crisis, so every economic crisis that they create is a wealth transfer opportunity from the desperate to the prepared. 2008, 2020, those were not just tragedies, they were massive wealth redistribution events. And I have seen another transfer, I think, that's happening even in this last 6 months. You've got to keep some cash ready for when others are forced to sell assets at fire sale prices. And when they're panicking, you're buying. But always remember, you're always buying because you're not timing the market. But knowledge is going to be power here. Never stop learning about money. The more you understand how their game works, the better you can play it. Financial literacy is literally self-defense against their system that will extract your livelihood. And everything I have told you means nothing if you don't take action. So here's your immediate plan to start breaking free from those chains. So this week, you're starting your escape. Audit your chains, list every debt, balance, and the interest rate that they're charging you. Calculate your position, which means your assets minus your liabilities. Even if it's negative, you need to know. I know it could be painful. Begin your liberation here by automatic transfers to high yield savings accounts, even $25 a week or $25 a pay period just to get you started. Build the habit. Open your wealth accounts, Roth IRA, taxable brokerage accounts, whatever you can access. And this month, accelerate your freedom. Attack those highest chains first. Every extra dollar toward high interest debt. And creating additional income, so side hustles that are targeting about $500 a month minimum. Cut their extraction points off, so cancel subscriptions and services that are bleeding you dry, especially if you're not using them. And of course, increasing your wealth building and those habits. So even 1% more to that 401k compounds over time, although I would just kind of do your match and then put that into your Roth IRA. But if you've maxed out your Roth IRA and other vehicles, swing back to the 401k. But this quarter, solidify your independence, build your emergency shield, and $1,000 will stop that debt trap cycle. And then of course, automating your wealth, as I was talking about, make it harder to spend, easier to invest. Continuing to educate yourself, and knowledge is your weapon against their manipulation. And of course, tracking and celebrating progress. Every step toward freedom matters, and you should be celebrating those small wins responsibly, of course, because it'll keep you moving forward. And the reality check here is that every day you delay is another day in their system. Every action that you take is a step forward to your economic independence. And here's the thing, while millions complain about this rigged game, a small percentage are learning the rules and building wealth anyway. The system rewards asset owners even if you start with almost nothing. The moment that you start thinking like an asset owner instead of a wage slave, you begin to escape. Your mission is to pick one action from today's video and execute it this week. While you're waiting for permission, they're extracting wealth from you every single day. Every step toward that financial independence is an act of railing against the system, and I love railing against the system. Don't let them win. Drop a comment and tell me which action you're going to be taking first. I appreciate you being here, and I will see you right back here on your next level up.